Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. This is Dr. Richard Owen, joined in the Hilltop Studios by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bachi.
Got a full house ready to entertain and inform.
Yes.
Not necessarily in that order, but we will make a run at it. You are reminded we are all over the social media, primarily Facebook and Twitter, but also on Instagram and I don't know what all else, anything. But we drive it all, basically now we're driving it all through our blog, docowenshow.com. Everything we post there goes to Facebook and Twitter. So I'm trying to discipline myself to put more posts on the blog and fewer on Facebook alone for a number of reasons, not the least of which is we own the blog and we don't own Facebook. And I think Mr. Zuckerberg is well on his way to having a successful product without our input.
Right.
Yeah, he can do it.
In case you're not familiar, Mr. Zuckerberg is the 12-year-old owner of Facebook. I don't know, this multi-billionaire.
With that 50-foot wall somewhere.
Exactly.
With the house, right?
Yeah, in Hawaii or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, go check out docowenshow.com. Over on the right-hand side of the main page is where you sign up for our newsletter, which goes out at random from time to time. It's not ever selling you anything. It's informing you of when our next show is about the time we put it out. But we're not even diligent about that. So, you won't be inundated with emails. And all you got to do is put in your first name, last name, email address in the discussion. That's all the information we want. We don't sell it to anybody. We don't give it away to anybody, etc. But we just like to know who you are so we can keep you informed. And a good way to follow us is on Twitter. My handle is at Doc Owen Show, all one word. It's always all the same. We also have free apps for both the iPhone and the Android. That is a great place to listen to the show. You can download it from there. You can listen to parts and pieces of it as you have time, and it gives you the entire catalog of all the shows that we've done. You can scroll back and bring yourself up to date if we're following a particular thread and you would like to go to the beginning of that thread. We start every show in a traditional manner, the first of which was the self-advertising, which we just did, about how to find us and how to participate and how to get in the game. The next of which are three little bullets. One of them, the first, is a piece of inspiration from Miss I'm a Surefire. That's followed up by Today in History by Uncle Bachi, the Doc Owen Show historian. And then I throw in something having to do with leadership. And then we move on with the show. So given that, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from dailybibleonline.com. That's right.
Somebody new.
Yes, because I'm believe it or not, feeling the effects of the PhD program, so I have to keep it pretty brief. Yeah, for at least for a while. So, tonight's quote comes from Psalm 33, verse 11. God promises He loves us always. The biblical meaning is, the counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of His heart to all generations. So that promise is, the intentions of God's heart will remain steadfast forever.
Amen.
Cool. Good job.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Good reminder.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Uncle Bachi?
Not much going on in the world of history tonight, unless you're interested in knowing that the Golden Gate Bridge started being built on this day in 1933.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when did it complete? Do you know?
No, I don't know. That day hasn't
We
come
have
yet.
to wait for that.
Don't wait for
Chihuahua. Read the entire article. Okay, so they started,
the Golden Gate Bridge.
because that was then and is still today quite an engineering feat
Yes.
to have built that bridge. I can't envision. All I envision about how they built the bridge are like comic sort of caricatures, where they got guys creeping out on little iron rails
Yeah.
and they rivet them together and they hope they meet in the middle,
Exactly.
Anyway.
I used to always hold my breath when I go.
Yeah, you
across
lived out there for a while.
That's right. And then I got enough sense and I came back.
Land of fruits and nuts.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And those two little ditties are followed by a leadership quote from our friends at Crowned Grace International. It's something that was said by a lady by the name of Susan Heathfield, Heathfield. And so it seems that all three of us, myself and I don't know who Susan Heathfield is or what her claim to fame is. So all three of us have kind of, we're obviously feeling some pressure of going into the end of the year. So the quote is, I'll talk about that in a minute. The quote is, your arrival at work sets the tone for the day.
That's true.
Okay?
Say
I
that
remember
again?
That.
Your
Yeah.
arrival at work sets the tone for the day.
Okay.
If you're happy, if you're enthusiastic, if you're smiley, if you're, hey, rah, rah, this is going to be fun, that sets the tone for the day throughout the entire organization.
Wow, yeah.
And the other way around. Think about it.
Yeah, I remember when I was working that if like I got in late, like I had a doctor's appointment or something
Right.
important to do before, then it was like my whole day was just shot.
Whacked. Yes.
It was just shot.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Okay. Just a little bit of an overview about the show. We're obviously going to have Uncle Bocce's Brief, which is our trip through history, our continued trip through history about the United States pre-United States. In other words, what made America America before it became the United States of America.
Exactly.
Right?
That's absolutely true.
Okay. Then we're going to dive into just a little bit an article that I posted on the blog that I think is pertinent not just locally, but to our entire listening audience around the country. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the election and the results of the election and what it meant to the interim time that's gone on since November the 8th. And, what there are some strong feelings about the election itself, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll talk a little bit about, got an article about the United States Navy, the Muslims, and then I want to spend a little bit of time, 10 minutes or so, 8 to 10 minutes, I hope, on an article that I referenced last week but did not get to, and that's about the enumerated powers of Congress, enumerated powers of the federal government, according to the Constitution, by the world's foremost authority on the United States Constitution, a lady by the name of Publius Hulda. And if you're not, what?
I thought I was. No, I'm just kidding.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh.
I was just trying to
I
think.
told him. I told you we shouldn't have let him read the fan mail.
Oh, no. I was just thinking about that lady's name. I was thinking, what would her nickname be? It wouldn't be like, man, I can't think of it.
Actually, it's pretty unique.
I don't think she would have a nickname.
She does have a nickname. I know her nickname.
Would,
Fred.
well, it wouldn't be P.U.'s.
No, it's Fred.
Well, think of the name, how it's spelled. It can't be that. So she don't have a nickname.
That's 3 for her.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So we're in a good humor. You may have noticed that the title of the show is that, and I occasionally get the privilege of sitting at the console and naming the show. So this show is named the best year ever because I decided today when I went into work, somewhat based on this leadership quote, that this is absolutely the best year that I have ever had. And everybody follows that up with so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm calling it. This is the end of, for me anyway, I'm cracking champagne and lighting fireworks tonight at midnight to celebrate the new year that starts tomorrow. Because this is 2017A. And I'm going to end on a high note. It's the best year that I've had in a long, long time. And tomorrow will start 2017B. So if anything goes wrong with it or it doesn't go well, it's not going to interfere with 2017A in my brain.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the best year ever. And
Sure
tomorrow we head into part B. And that's what the title of the show means. Okay?
Thank you,
Is
Doc.
everybody with me? So
Yeah.
That B could
So
also
in-
mean it's even better.
So it's a little bit after 8 o'clock Central Time where we broadcast from, so we have less than 4 hours left in this year.
There
so
you go.
Enjoy it while it lasts. All right. Uncle Bocce,
Yes, sir.
do you have a history lesson for us?
I sure do.
Cool. Fire
We're-
away.
Continuing on our march toward revolution. We're going to talk tonight
we
about.
need some march towards revolution music.
Yeah, we should have, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. We're going to talk about a topic called smuggling. And you say, smuggling? What does that have to do with the formation and the revolution of this country? Well, we're going to find that out tonight.
I thought that's what Obama did right after he'd issued an executive order.
He
He
smuggled
walks off
people
real
in?
smug.
Oh, no, this is
So
a different.
that is in the process. So he is in the process of smuggling.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You sure you're not getting. Okay, never mind. Okay, now, the British, remember, had an empire to run. So they were very busy. They had a huge empire. The prevailing economic philosophy at the time in the 17th and 18th century, and we talked about this before, it's what is known as mercantilism.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Just a quick reminder of what mercantilism is. It is a system the colonies existed to enrich the mother country. Okay? Now let that set into your mind now. The whole concept is the mother country is the benefactor of anything that goes on in the colonies. Okay?
Well, actually, it's the benefactor of everything that went on in the colonies, and the
Yes.
reason, as opposed to anything. And the reason I say that is because the store, the big store that took up the entire block across from City Hall, in a lot of American towns before the city, but American towns that were called blah 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 mercantile. And
Yeah.
and they had everything.
Yeah.
It was before, it was the front runner to the department store. But they were called such and such. I know because my family had such and such an Owen Mercantile in Athens, Texas.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
But they
So
were
that
but,
became
but they were everywhere.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead with your mercantile. That helps it sink in.
Yes, yeah, and thank you. I'm glad because I want people to understand that.
Right.
Now, what was going on is that there were a lot of restrictions placed on the colonists. To give you an example, there were restrictions on what the colonies could manufacture. There were restrictions on whose ships they could use.
Yeah, we read it. We heard.
We did that before
we talked
with the
about that.
Navigation Acts. We're going to
Yes.
mention them again.
Okay, sure.
Okay? And most importantly, with whom they could trade. So you see this
Unbelievable.
big monster empire encroaching because it wants all the goods.
Well,
okay?
they weren't even that big. They're just an island.
Well, true, but they were a big empire. They're a very powerful empire.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And we
Okay.
put up, and the other point that we keep driving home is we, Americans, before we were Americans, well, no, we were Americans already before we were the colonists. Our forefathers put up with that environment that you just mentioned for over 200 years.
Yeah, well, at least 169 years.
Okay.
So, but as we go along, it becomes more towards 200 years.
Okay.
So, naturally, British merchants, they wanted the American colonies to buy British goods. And so they did not want the British colonies to buy anything from the French, the Spanish, or the Dutch. Everything had to be bought from Great Britain.
Okay.
Now,
Wow.
go ahead.
Wow. I just said
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
They're like the Amazon of their era.
yeah. Now, in theory, the Americans, they could have paid duties and all of that to import goods to discourage the practice. But here's what happened. Remember the Navigation Acts? There were 4 of them. And it was Britain tightening the screws on the colonies as to what they could manufacture, grow, and what ships they would use.
Each one
and
was
each
more
one
onerous than the first.
Was more onerous than the first.
Right.
So that was what goes on. The Navigation Acts, and there was also something called the Molasses Act.
That was slow to take hold.
So, yeah, because molasses flows slowly. I get your point. Good. So,
That's one for you.
what did the colonists do to get around this? Because remember, these are people now living in the colonies who are used to being free. They love their freedom.
Yeah.
They were hard workers. They worked hard for what they did.
Yeah.
Okay? And they didn't like the idea of being restricted in any way.
Duh.
Okay? Right?
It's kind of like the
The Americans today.
Well,
They
it's
don't
a
like to be
relationship
restricted.
between the feds and Texas.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, yes, exactly. So what they turned to then was smuggling. This was the way that the colonists ignored these restrictions by smuggling.
Okay.
Now, the British Empire was very distant, just like Washington, D.C. is very distant from most places in the country.
Right.
Okay? This actually worked towards the colonies' advantage.
Right, sure.
Because they were so far. We've mentioned that. Now, prior to 1763, the British followed the policy known as salutary neglect. Probably you never heard. I've never heard of it either. But what it is, it's an American history term that refers to the 17th and 18th century British Crown policy of avoiding strict enforcement of parliamentary laws meant to keep American colonies obedient to England. Okay? You got
Okay.
that?
Yeah.
You understand that? Okay,
Right.
good. They passed laws regulating colonial trade, but they
They were lax on enforcement.
Yeah, they knew they could not easily enforce them.
Right.
They knew that because they were too
So
big.
the only thing, they just watched for the really egregious offenders.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It cost 4 times as much to use the British Navy to collect duties as the value of the duties themselves. Okay? So it didn't make sense for them to do it. There was
Right.
also that element. The colonists, particularly the colonists in New England, thought nothing of ignoring these laws. I mean, they just, it just was, what is the word? It just wasn't, it was antithetical. Antithetical? I don't know
Okay.
what the word is. But
They
it
don't-
just, that's not the way they were.
Those New Englanders have always been rascals.
Now, ships from the colonies often loaded their holds with illegal goods from the French, Dutch, and Spanish West Indies.
Okay.
Okay, so we were trying to have a commerce of our own and trade of our own. And the
Wait,
British
say
didn't
that
like
again.
that.
The French brought stuff here against the in other words,
Yeah.
they broke the law. The French,
Yes.
French and the Americans collectively
Yes.
broke English law.
At the behest of the American, the colonists, they
Well, the
still
French,
wanted.
I'm sure the French did it for the money.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
And plus they didn't like England, so.
Yeah, true. Now, British customs officials, they earned a modest salary from the crown. Well, guess what happens when you don't get paid enough?
You cheat.
You cheat, absolutely. And they soon found their pockets stuffed with bribe money from the colonial shippers. So you can see how this is going. Smuggling became commonplace. The British estimated that over 700 pounds per year were brought into American colonies illegally. 700, back then it was a lot of money, 700,000 pounds, dollars, pounds.
Yeah, pounds as in British coin.
That's correct.
Not weight.
Yes. Okay, we're almost finished here. As 1776 approached, the tradition of smuggling became vital to the revolutionary cause. See where I'm setting up here? Okay. This encouraged ignoring British law, particularly in the harbors of New England. American shippers soon became quite skilled at avoiding British Navy, a practice that was used extensively during the Revolutionary War. So all this smuggling and trying to get around the British restrictions set them up for the Revolutionary War because they were already used to sneaking around the British.
Right.
So soon
That's
England...
the old Bill Cosby album. I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Soon England began to try offenders in admiralty courts, which had no juries. Aha. All attempts to crack down merely brought further rebellion. Woe to the parent who attempts to contain the child who has been allowed to roam free. You get the thought behind that?
No. Do it again.
Britain, the parent,
Yep.
allowing the colonies, the children, to do as they could.
Oh,
What happens to a child?
I've been in restaurants with them.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the same. It was the same kind of thing.
That's an ugly picture.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I know we actually have to move. When
So
it happens.
next week we're going to be looking a little bit more closely at what is an American. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good conversation.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is.
We may have to allocate some more time for that.
We may, or what, however. So you can reach me, Uncle Bocci, UNCLEBACI, at DocOwenShow.com. Adios, folks.
And
see you next time.
Thank you, sir. And Uncle
Thank
Bocci
you,
does a
Uncle
lot of
Bocci.
posting on the blog, too.
Yes.
So pay attention to that. I was going to tell you something about Bill Cosby when you were talking about the ships and the British Navy and the smugglers, and I can see them running in and out of the woods and things like. Cosby has this whole routine about the British-American War that there was absolutely no doubt whatsoever who the winner was going to be because they flipped a coin, and actually the British won the coin toss, so they got to pick first, and I've forgotten. Anyway, the British decided that they were going to march in a straight line. They were going to wear real white, red uniforms, and they were going to sound a horn and pound on drums real loud as they were coming into battle. And the Americans decided they could wear whatever they wanted to do and shoot from behind rocks and trees, and the whole routine was about the British set themselves up to lose because they were so obvious about the way they were playing the game.
Sure.
And I'm sure the same thing was true with the smugglers, the cat and mouse. The same thing was true with the smugglers in the Navy.
Yeah.
So you just called up a picture in my mind about that.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Good job, sir. Good job.
Thank you,
Thank
Uncle
you.
Bocci.
Uncle Bocci. Uncle Bocci's brief. We love it. Let's talk kind of briefly about the election intervention. There's been a lot of talk ongoing about the Russians hacking into the elections. They hacked. We know somebody hacked into the DNC. They hacked into the John Podesta. There was a lot of cyber activity going on running up to the elections, right? WikiLeaks posted some of it. Our government is blaming the Russian government. The Russian government is denying it. The president of the founder, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks, is denying that Russia had anything to do with the information that he posted. He got it from a completely different source, et cetera, et cetera. And, the current administration is making a big deal about Russia this, Russia that. We expelled their diplomats. We've done several things that are very questionably legal on an international stage. And Mr. Twitter, Mr. Trump,
Yeah.
is questioning all of it, right? He doesn't. He really does not necessarily put a lot of faith in the current administration's use of our intelligence services.
Okay.
How was that for putting it politely?
That's very good.
He thinks they're full of crap. I mean, to put it in Trump language,
Yeah.
in 140 characters, he thinks they're less than truthful
Yeah.
with the American public. Okay. Having said that, we got into a discussion. We attend a monthly meeting of a bunch of like-minded patriots, and they're always good. Some of them are better than others in terms of food for thought. The meeting last night was about a number of things. It was about, our guy won, or the Republicans, the conservatives won, and kind of the reaction or how people felt about that. There was a resounding response from throughout the room, and if you follow Doc Owen Show's Facebook page, you'll know that I posted something about it as well. And that is that we do believe there is a large contingency of people in this country who do believe that there was intervention during this election period. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For those of you not familiar, it is called divine intervention.
There you go.
The hand of God, this thing, this idea, this concept.
The supreme being.
Yeah, but
Right.
you always struggle with, well, what's he wearing? What's he look like?
Yeah.
The only thing that we know about what he looks like is his son. So God is this concept that gave us earth, that gave us life way back in the very beginning. And the United States has always been purported to be God's chosen group. Right?
Yeah, there was definitely
outside the Israelites.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Right?
it started in Israel. And
It started in
there's a whole-
Israel. That's
how it-
why
how
we're
it came
so
to
tightly
Britain.
bound to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the feeling in the room was about God's having had a hand, and the analysis, by the way, if you do any research on the internet, and folks, if you think you're going to hear this conversation on mainstream media,
Forget it.
you are on some serious medication, because it is not going to happen. Which is why they struggle with explaining what happened. They cannot figure it out. They're beside themselves still that Hillary lost. They can't get a grip on it. But that I'm convinced that that's what it was.
Yeah, so many are convinced of that. The one lady, she framed it really well, because she said that she was involved with some other people on Facebook or praying.
I was about to bring that up.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go
ahead.
Billy Graham's son. Go for it.
Yeah, with
Franklin Graham. Billy
that's
Graham's
correct.
son
And
conducted a Facebook Live broadcast.
Yes.
Now go.
Yeah, and one of the portions of the prayer was, "Please God, give us another chance."
Yes.
In other words, admitting, we've done this has been wrong.
As a country,
Don't neglect us now. Please give us another
Right.
chance. And go ahead.
over 500,000 people at that instance joined in that prayer and prayed that phrase right there all day election day. All right, but that when they had that prayer, when that occurred at that minute. If you go back and you look at the results, the election results, that is exactly when the Trump campaign shot up
Yeah.
and started to take over. I've seen an analysis on the internet about the timing of the prayer and the timing of the acceleration of Trump's victory. And they are within minutes of each other.
Yes.
These are scary things that you cannot be defined by man.
That's right.
You must admit something else took over. Even if you're not a God-fearing Christian, I'm trying to allow for that. You follow me?
Yes.
You simply must admit that a divine intervention occurred. A higher power took over this country and said, "No, we're going to go this way." Right?
That's right.
That's right.
And that's the way we're going.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
That's going to be but it's not going to be easy.
No,
No.
So
nothing good really ever
Yeah,
is.
he's given us a chance, and now we had better act on it.
Shape up.
you can't back off, and it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be difficult on Mr. Trump. Going to be difficult on the people who work for him, and it's going to be difficult on all the rest of us as we try to do our part to support the turnaround of this big ass boat called the United States of America. And it's going to take a long time, but it's going to be done incrementally. You don't turn on a dime, as they say. It's done incrementally. So speaking of that, hopefully you noticed, one of the things that I noticed as I was traveling around between November the 8th and Christmas,
Yep, we did. We noticed it.
it was very evident that this country felt a huge burden lifted off of them.
Oh,
Yes.
And it was now okay to say Merry
Christmas.
Yes.
Yes.
Not Happy Holidays, not Season's Greetings. In years past, if you didn't notice, you should have. I did, because I pay attention to little things like that. I hated going into a store, and I would stand there in front of a clerk and until they said Merry Christmas back to me. Generally, you would say Merry Christmas when you bought something during the Christmas season as a customer, and they'd say Happy Holidays. Or they would say nothing because they'd been instructed by, I'm sure, by their store management, to be politically correct, don't offend anybody, and yada, yada, yada. This year was substantially different.
Yes.
Almost every clerk I ran into said Merry Christmas right back with a great big smile, like it's okay this year.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
That's
astounding.
well,
Yeah,
it's cool. It's
yeah.
astounding in the one sense and scary in another.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I noticed the same thing. People saying
You
Merry
did.
Christmas.
Unbelievable.
Back to you. And yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the term, but that's what I mean by incremental.
Sure.
It's the little things that we do.
Yes.
Okay. So now that we've talked about Trump's victory, we have a little something to throw out there at about the halfway point that we now have a name for this segment in the show, which means it may wind up staying in the show. What do you call this segment?
Black Lives Matter.
She's from East Texas.
North the Panhandle.
Black
Lives
Laughs
Matter.
Matter.
Yeah.
Laffs. Laughs.
Yeah.
Okay. Play our Black Laughs Matter quickie, please.
Give my remarks to all of the Trump haters, all of the Hillary Clinton supporters, all of the people that said that my Trump was gonna lose. So I say to you this morning, the day after the election, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Okay.
This just cracks us up. I'm sorry to overindulge in that, but I don't think it is. It's 30 seconds worth of just a real good brief. It's better to listen to that than to have to listen to some commercial, I think.
That's right.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
compliments of the Doc Owen Show. We had an election here. We had some local election, not really local elections, but our statewide elections or state officers, anything above the municipal level, are elected at the same time as the national elections. So we had our county sheriff elections this past time, along with Trump, et cetera, et cetera. And I want you to go, and my point is threefold on this. We had a very good sheriff, Susan Pomerleau, that you have heard on the air. She's a good friend of the Doc Owen Show, and she did an excellent job as sheriff. She lost her reelection, and she was running as a Republican. She lost to a local Democrat, an old school, good old boy, sanctuary city supporting Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The blog post is extensive about it. I'm telling you this because I will submit to you this probably is and can and potentially will go on in your hometown. So you need to know what to watch for. I dug into the numbers. There are several things. There were 3 things that I took out of my research. I'll give you the bullet points and let you go to the blog to get the full impact of the description. The 3 things were: Democrats vote straight party ticket 70.2% of the time in Bexar County.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans 50.15% of the time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big difference. Republicans always whine and moan and complain and can't figure that out, when in fact they should get on board and try to do more of it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's very powerful. All right? Number 2, we had 4 candidates in this race, one of which was that we had a Green Party candidate that got 7 votes or some kind of minuscule kind of junk. But we also had a Libertarian in this race. And that, I don't have anything against Libertarians. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of my thoughts kind of lean towards Libertarian stronger
Mine
than
too,
they
yeah.
do. They got some good stuff.
Yes.
But what they don't do, that they should have learned to do, is to play well with others.
Right.
And my example was, and the reason I'm saying this is because the Libertarians had 5,400 people pull the Libertarian lever and vote straight Libertarian ticket. That was their objective for this election, so they could be guaranteed a slot on the ballots and get state funding across the country. In states, multiple states. That's all they wanted to do. They really didn't think they were going to win, but if they got to a certain percentage level, they could get state funding. That was that's what they were after. Enough Libertarians pulled a straight ticket to have put Susan Pomerleau back in office. She only lost by 4,100 votes out of 250,000. No, more than that. 500,000 votes. She lost by 4,100.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
That Libertarian candidate took 18,000 votes away from the conservative Republican candidate.
That's right.
Okay, there was her victory, wrapped up in that Libertarian candidate. In the 45 years that the Libertarian Party has been around, and that's how long they've been calling themselves a party, all they've ever done is play spoiler for the most conservative candidate other than theirs on the ticket. The Tea Party, on the other hand, made a conscious effort to work within the Republican Party, even though it was far more challenging than going off and playing in your own sandbox, which the Libertarians did. The Tea Party made a conscious effort to stay within the Republican Party and change the Republican Party.
Yep, they did.
They took a lot of heat for that.
They still are.
But look at how many Tea Party candidates are in office. And Tea Party has only been around for 10 years. So part of my blog post is the Libertarians need to take note. And at least from time to time, like a sheriff's race or like some race in your hometown where you've got some input into your Libertarian brethren, tell them, dude, you don't need a candidate in this race. You need to endorse, do what the Tea Party did. Put the Libertarian endorsement on the strong conservative candidate, even if they're not a perfect fit for your Libertarian beliefs.
Yes.
That was my point.
Yes.
That's number 2. Number 3, Republicans, here you go, have a policy of not supporting local candidates. They believe that municipal elections are nonpartisan. All right?
Right.
When I was 15, that was true. That was over 50 years ago. I used to fight the fact that municipal elections were R&D. I didn't think it belonged. In my purity of what I thought the election should be. But the reality is, because the Democrats made it so, and that's why they controlled so many municipalities in the United States, that's the only level of government that the Republicans don't control. They've got that. We got the House, you got the Senate, you got the president, you got 31 state governors. There's no telling how many state congresses that you have in control of Republicans. Everything except municipal government, because they won't play at that level because of this old school version.
That's
of
what it is.
But
It's old school.
It's dead.
Yeah.
They need to get with the program.
Exactly.
They're killing us
Exactly.
when they could be helping us.
Yeah.
Okay. Go read the blog. You just got the gist of it.
Good.
Okay. DocOwenShow.com. And the title of the post is Think Global, Act Local, which is what we used to hear about the advent of the Internet.
That's right.
I said I was going to say something about the Navy, and I am, because it's near and dear to me. For the first time in United States history since World War II, all United States aircraft carriers are in port. Does that remind you of any significant event
Oh, yeah.
in United States history?
Yes.
That would be
December 7th.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Harbor.
What is this guy thinking? Commander-in-Chief ordered, and not only the fact that it reminds you of Pearl Harbor, but our aircraft carriers are our worldwide superiority. That is our ability to have aircraft in the air in any given combat zone in a heartbeat, because we are in the region, floating around on the water.
Right. Except in Benghazi, Mediterranean. That doesn't count. No, go ahead.
You're being facetious,
Yes,
right?
I am being very facetious.
Okay. You're not prone to do that, so I thought I'd better check. First time, sorry, but that's a concern. I know it's not going to be on mainstream media. I know, and hopefully nothing will come of it. But it is patently stupid,
Yes.
if not a signal. If it's a signal, we'll know. And we'll know before the inauguration, I'll bet you, or shortly thereafter. Because I guarantee
Have
shortly
they moved
after
anything else around like that you heard of? Have they moved around anything?
any other troops, any other? Yeah, they've
armed forces?
Yes, we now have a special squadrons of troops positioned on the Russian border.
What?
Yes, we're ready to go. Obama's ready to go to war.
Well, yeah, I know he's trying to start a war with Russia.
Yeah,
Because that'll be the best way for him to extend his legacy and not let Trump
yep,
do anything
right,
with foreign policy.
right.
But, okay, folks.
Thank goodness Putin's smarter than Obama, and knows that war, any type of a war, is a no-win situation for all
Absolutely.
participants at that level. At that level,
That's the two big powers. That's,
Whew,
Yeah.
that could get real ugly real fast.
It sure can.
Muslim leader in the U.S., quote, Islam is not here to integrate. Islam is here to dominate. That's a quote from one of the Hizb ut Tahrir. That's the American chapter. It's sorry, but some of these names kind of leave me flat. Anyway, there is no God but Allah. This is coming from the top end imams, and you wonder why we are. This show in particular is all about assimilation, and we can't understand why we're fighting such an uphill fight, because we're pipsqueaks in the Muslim world, as compared to a high-level imam telling his people, no, that's not why we're here.
That's right.
Don't believe the infidels, which is who we are, right? Okay. I said we were going to get to it, and we're going to get to it. Publius Hulda. There are certain powers, as you should know. If you don't, you're going to by the end of the show. As you should know, the Constitution of the United States gives the federal government certain powers. And it states in that Constitution anything not identified here.
Yeah.
Item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. Anything not enumerated
That's it. That's the word. Good.
to the federal government is hereby reserved for the states
Yes. And the people.
and the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of discussion.
That's it.
That's what it says.
That's right.
Publius Hulda, and I highly encourage you to look that up and follow her blog. It's PubliusHuldah. Just put that in your fabulous Google machine. Find her blog, which is PubliusHuldah.wordpress.com, and you will be the world's foremost authority, right behind Publius and Uncle Bocce
Oh,
for
there
doing
you
your
go.
homework. There you go. So the federal Constitution lists the items Congress is permitted to spend money on. If you read through the federal Constitution and highlight the powers delegated to Congress and the President, you will have a complete list of the objects on which Congress is lawfully senators and representatives, salaries of civil officers of the United States, pay the debts, pay tax collectors, regulate commerce with foreign nations, among the several states and with Indian tribes, the Immigration Office, the Mint, Attorney General to handle the small amount of authorized federal litigation, post offices and post roads, Patent and Copyright Office, federal courts, military and citizens militia, since Congress has general legislative authority over the federal enclaves listed in the article. It talks about those. And that's it.
Yep.
There are no more. So I think Mr. Trump, I'm a project manager. I'm a certified project manager. I sort of do it for a living from time to time. I always think that way. There's a thing in project management called a PMO, a program management office. And a program management office manages multiple projects. Okay? And this process, this thought process, is totally ingrained in engineering. It's ingrained in IT. It's actually ingrained in the federal government. I think Mr. Trump should open a PMO, an organization that is designed to run multiple projects, and they said the definition of a project, by the way, is to accomplish a specific purpose at it with a specific timeline for a defined amount of money, right? Yeah. Roughly. All right. Project managers are people who work themselves out of a job. You work your. I know that my project's going to be over in 18 months and I'm done. I'm out of work, unless another project comes up. And if you do a good job on the project, it always does. Mr. Trump needs to start a PMO and hire a bunch of project managers whose job it is to shut down any agency or anything the federal government is doing that is not on that list.
Yeah.
Now, it may be a 5-year project. It may be a 10-year project. It may take a long time.
Yes.
But your job, sir, is to shut that down. Dismantle it.
Yeah, that's what we'd love to see.
Whatever service that agency is providing needs to be done by the state. According to the Constitution, it doesn't need to go away. That's where people get scared. Oh, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. Yeah, we are. The state's going to do it. Then you shift the burden. You know,
Right.
It's not that hard.
No,
It's
not.
hard politically because so many people have their hands in the cookie jar. Right?
Yep.
Well, you follow the money trail, like we always say.
Yep.
But if you go back to the enumerated powers of the Constitution, there's your guideline. Other than that, Mr. Project Manager, you're in charge of, I don't care what it is, Social Security. Figure out how to move that to the state. Figure it out.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Yeah,
right?
it can be done. Ideally, it should be done.
Okay, so am I right or am I right? Is this not the best year ever?
This is the best year ever. Seriously,
You
my
just
attitude,
realized it, didn't you?
my health changed after November 8th. I'm serious about this.
That's good.
You know, I feel like I can breathe again because of the dark cloud of the Obama years.
It was
Yeah, you didn't
so
realize.
apparent in the public's mind.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so apparent when you went out in the public's mind that the whole country has, and I think the world probably.
I think so,
I think
too.
once we get him inaugurated, there's still some concern. Once we get him sworn in and keep him alive, by golly, we're back.
Yes.
We're headed in the right direction.
That's right.
And I think the world applauds. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.